All right, so it has been almost 1 year since Apple introduced this guy, the iPhone 15, iPhone 15 Pro series, and I've got like a lot of thoughts here. So the keynote, if we can just rewind it a bit, I think took the internet like by storm, right? Apple and Tim Cook hyped up this new titanium body, seemingly endless customizations with the action button, and a camera setup that like really this time, I guess was finally worthy of like a pro name. But the big question, is Apple telling the truth? I want to share my final iPhone 15 Pro review with a bit of a twist this time. So I'm going to go back and look at the 7 or so big features Apple touted during the big reveal, and give you the honest, as someone who's used this phone day in and day out, I want to cut the Apple marketing talk and tell you if it's still worth it in 2024 or even in 2025. Is this truly the best Apple has to offer? Let's find out. All right, so the switch from stainless steel to titanium was like rumor that swirled for months leading up to the reveal. But I don't think Apple thought people would care so much about this. This was the lead-in. It was the first feature that they talked about of the 15 Pro series. And like 1 year in, while I won't say it's my favorite iPhone feature ever, definitely something that I notice every single day. And it's nothing to do with the finish or the new color, but like the decrease in weight makes titanium a feature that I actually like care about with the 15 Pro, in this case a 15 Pro Max. So here's what Apple had to say about titanium.
And we are thrilled to introduce our astonishing new titanium design. This is the most premium material we've ever used in an iPhone enclosure.
How excited this guy is.
Titanium is incredibly strong and durable. Yet at the same time, it is much lighter, making these our lightest Pro models ever.
They lived up to that one.
You'll feel it as soon as you pick it up. Titanium is just beautiful. It feels fantastic.
I mean, it looks like it did before.
And we're also introducing the thinnest borders ever on an iPhone.
If you can notice the difference in borders,
this enabled us to reduce.
I'm gonna pause it here. I was pretty psyched for those smaller borders. Ever since I saw that keynote, that is the last time I thought about the borders on the iPhone. That's something that gets you excited. Like, oh, this one's different than the one I have. But you get it in practice and like, it looks the same. Display sizes here are kind of the same they've been, but I wanted to go back and watch Apple talk about it since the phones are gonna get larger with the 16 series.
And there are two great display sizes to choose from. 6.1 inches for iPhone 15 Pro and 6.7 inches for iPhone 15 Pro.
Now we're gonna get bigger.
Now to tell you more about this incredible titanium design, here's Isabel.
All right, so like display sizes here are nothing like new, but I did think it was worth kind of pointing out since the iPhone 16 Pro models are going to get like significantly larger. And as somebody who always goes for the bigger phone, like I got pretty decent sized hands. 6.7 inches is like pretty large. Now going to 6.9 for the Pro Max is going to be a big boy phone. And going from 6.1 to 6.3 on the Pro is probably gonna be the sweet spot, I think, for a lot of people. I've always gone and opted for the Pro Max, especially this year, I guess, for the telephoto. I have used that 5x zoom a ton. I know I'm in the minority when it comes to telephoto versus ultra wide or macro or any of that kind of stuff, but I'll always go for the most telephoto. So I'm hoping for the 16 Pro that the regular Pro gets the same telephoto as a Pro Max, but probably not going to be the case. Biggest rumor, it almost goes back now a year ago with the 15 Pro, like was the action button. This new button, it's gonna replace a profile switcher. Like what was it gonna be? What was it gonna do? Apple explained it pretty well.
We've had the ring silent switch, a quick and easy way to mute iPhone sounds. We wanted to make this even better. So with iPhone 15 Pro, we are reinventing the experience with a customizable
Reinventing's a little strong word.
button. By default, it's still a simple
Only Apple can play reinventing the experience of flipping a switch.
ring silent switch. To toggle between ring and silent, you simply press and hold the button to confirm your intent.
The power of the action button to me is something that probably got me the most excited about the 15 Pro series. Like it could do anything. You can use it for a profile switcher. You can set a shortcut for infinite shortcuts. You could open apps, different macros, sort of anything that was important to you, you could do with it. For me, it calls my wife. And if you can laugh and it sounds ridiculous, I actually use that all the time. My phone sits right next to me while I'm driving on a charger. I can just lean over and push it and call. That's what I do all the time. I love that feature. I absolutely love having it. The action button has been surprisingly useful. You might disagree, maybe you don't use it all that often. It still seems like a huge miss, and I said this on day one, that like I can't double tap the action button to do something. A long press would do something different than a short press, or a triple press would do something even different, even more different. I was shocked that wasn't in iOS 18. I don't know, maybe that's gonna be like an exclusive feature of the iPhone 16 Pro. They're gonna reinvent, if I can borrow that term, the action button again. This has been really useful to me. I think Apple sold this appropriately. It has generally changed the way I've used my phone. I don't have to go to a screen on my car to dial. I don't have to try to use my voice, and it sometimes works or doesn't. Really push a button and it calls the most important person in my contacts, and it works perfectly. I do think the placement of it is like a little bit awkward. You kind of spend more time than I probably should admit at this point fiddling around to find the right place on it. You figure out muscle memory at this point. I love the action button. If there's a reason to get the phone, I think the action button is still probably the biggest one. And like as the iPhone 15 series prepares to like ride off into the sunset, as Apple makes way for the 16 series, you're probably sitting there on the couch trying to plan whether or not you make the upgrade. And while you're chilling there, pondering your tech decisions, there's another plan you should be making. That is protecting your loved ones with life insurance from a company like this video's sponsor, Ethos. And look, I get it, this isn't like the most like fun topic, but to be honest, it is way more important than what phone you may or may not buy. You wanna make sure that if something should happen to you, your spouse, your kids, your loved ones aren't burdened with expenses if you pass, which is where life insurance can help be a safety net in worst case scenarios. I have 3 children. It's something that personally is very important to me. And if you've been watching this channel over the years, you've seen my family grow. My kids have made an appearance in countless videos. I wanna make sure that all of them, my wife, are protected in the event that something happens to me, so I have peace of mind. Ethos is here to totally change the way life insurance is purchased. It takes the hassle, confusion, wasted time out of the process, lets you get sort of life insurance in a matter of minutes. It's fast, it's easy, and you can do it wherever you are, like right now. Getting started with Ethos is super simple. Head to the link down below, answer a few simple health questions, 100% online, unlike other options, does not require any medical exams or blood tests. With a few simple clicks, you can get coverage for up to $2 million. Apply and get covered in like 10 minutes or less. Just scan the QR code here or check the link in the description to learn more about Ethos. Apple spends a lot of time with the process. We're super proud of them, and obviously they should be. This past year, we got the A17 Pro.
Performance, here's Shri.
Yeah, these Apple transitions are next level though, for their keynotes. I remember pausing this video, looking around for like anything hidden in the background.
The A series chip powers every experience on iPhone. For iPhone 15 Pro, we developed a new generation of Apple silicon.
Before I go, let me just ask anybody who's got, this is an iPhone 15, anybody who's got an iPhone 13 or newer, have you once, in anything you've done with your phone, thought that your phone was slow? Even going back later, probably 12 or even 11. Apple's silicon and the processors is so damn powerful that it almost doesn't matter how much more powerful they make them. The A17 chip is incredible, it's beastly, it's probably gonna be good for like, till my kids are in college. Not surprisingly, Apple's kind of perfected their chips to the point where no part of this phone feels slow. And I will say, despite Apple talking about like neural processing and CPU and GPU improvements, again, I don't notice anything tangibly different that I couldn't run on my iPhone 14 Pro and probably my 13 Pro if I go back even farther. I'm curious to see how that power is utilized with iOS 18, kind of the new Apple Intelligence feature, since it requires a 15 Pro or higher to run. So obviously there's more horsepower here than the previous generations. But the processor conversation in general kind of led me to the battery and kind of how efficient the A17 was going to be. My iPhone 14 Pro Max, talked about this a lot, was like really bad. I was having battery degradation by the time I traded in. I was in the 70s. And I was noticing the phone was not lasting. So I was a bit like reticent coming in to the 15 Pro Max, how it was going to be. So this video is being filmed like middle of July. My battery health is 92%, which is significantly better than it was last year and about on par with where it's been previous generations. I babied this battery more than I have in previous years because I didn't want to have the same issues that I had with the 14. But overall battery life has been great. I wish it lasted longer. Yeah. Is the A17 making it more efficient? If my iPhone 14 Pro Max had good battery life, it'd probably be exactly the same. It's kind of the theme like with this phone. It's pretty much the same as last year. and it's probably, if I go back, the same as the phones before that. It can last you a full day. It cannot last you a full day, depending on what apps you use. The battery life is fine. It could be better. It's not great. It is the most like mid, probably battery life that I could have. Apple is never going to stop trying to make this a thing.
iPhone is the best mobile gaming platform in the world.
I mean, okay. The best mobile gaming platform in the world. In a world where Steam Deck exists, Nintendo Switch is still selling millions of copies. It's a bit of a reach, Apple.
iPhone is powered by high-performance and power-efficient Apple Silicon. Features advanced HDR displays, supports variable refresh rates,
Sure.
and is compatible with the most advanced game controllers.
Welcome to New York City in the Division Resurgence.
I mean, it does look good. I don't know, listen, maybe I'm old, maybe I don't use my phone that way. I've never once used my phone to play like super graphic intensive games. I don't see anybody doing it. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. My field of view here is small, but like, I don't think it's the reason anybody's actually buying the iPhone.
The A17 Pro.
So they can play these like graphically intensive games. If I'm wrong, tell me. I can admit it. Grown up, I will. If you play these like super intensive games, let me know. Or are you playing like Roblox or like these mobile designed games? I don't know.
Fire and weather effects making the game.
I think this is probably just a way for Apple to say like, look how powerful our processors are. It's like a benchmark. Look what our phones can do. You might never do this, but look what it's capable of. If it can do this, it'll play your Roblox, whatever game you're playing, extremely well. And I guess to that extent, it is true. And certainly you can pair a game controller. But if you're pairing a game controller, you're probably using a browser and you're streaming games. The iPhone is a great screen for that. But this just doesn't seem like something that's ever gonna happen. Out of all the stuff in the keynote, as like someone who creates content, this I thought was probably gonna be the most useful.
Now let's talk about the camera.
The cameras.
The Pro camera system is a big reason why users choose our Pro models.
I'm just gonna pause it. I love going back and watching these old keynotes, especially the recent ones. When these guys all knew like Vision Pro was coming, I always wonder like what they thought about it like a year ago. They're like, should it come out? Should it not come out?
Multiple lenses. iPhone 15 Pro has our best camera system yet.
As you'd expect.
Users will get even better photos and videos, powerful new features, and the equivalent of 7 camera lenses in their pocket.
Just count them with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like one of the big features of this year's phone, especially on the Max, that 5x telephoto zoom lens. And again, like I said, this is a big reason why I went for this phone. I use that zoom lens, like I said, with my daughter at her recital, my kids in sports. I use this all the time. If the 16 Pro Max gets a bigger one, that's where I will go. I was excited about the ability to record spatial video, mess around with Vision Pro. That became something I kind of forgot about. I did record all my video in spatial video and maybe go back and revisit it. It hasn't been a huge deal, but the combination of the real sort of pro cameras that can do ProRes, being able to record to SSDs has been huge. It has made, especially the 15 Pro Max, kind of the perfect run and gun phone. We go to CES, we go to events, like this is in reality all most people need. It's all we need. Carrying a giant camera, it helps, but in a lot of ways it's more just for show. I think in a lot of ways Apple nailed it with the 15 Pro Max. That's kind of like the theme, I think, with this phone now a year later. You can put it side by side with phones that came out 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. They are not going to look that different at all. While I hope Apple makes big design changes, they haven't had to. They are definitely iterating, but this iteration I thought brought the biggest differences. It's most definitely not my favorite. That still goes to the 6 Plus, but it's a phone that I'm happy to have with me all the time. And because it's with me all the time, and if it's probably with you, you had to buy it, and Apple spent a decent amount of time talking about
the
price.
iPhone 15 Pro will start at the same price as last year, $999.
And this was the first time in years actually Apple hadn't raised the price of the iPhone model. 15 Pro Max did also get more base storage, but also went up. That at least went up a little bit. Phones are just expensive nowadays. When you've got price of phones that are almost identical going up in price, it kind of is what it is. Listen, if you're interested in the 15 Pro Max at this point in the game, in middle of July, either wait until September and see what the 16 Pro Max is going to be, or buy one used or refurb, there's no reason for buying a new iPhone 15 Pro Max or really any of the iPhone 15s right now. Like, I think the iPhone has become so commoditized at this point. Like, it's just a tool that almost the way it looks and performs matters less. It is the best commodity out there for a lot of people. It's been the best commodity out there for me. It works well, it performs well. It hasn't failed at anything that Apple promised, despite their sort of bubbly marketing language. It does exactly what you'd expect an iPhone to do. And if you look at it as a tool and take any weird allegiances or thoughts you have about sort of platform wars, it's probably the best at what it does. It is by no means perfect. There's a ton of room for improvement. But overall, I've been really happy with the iPhone 15 Pro Max.